This episode is brought to you by our partner, Ice Barrel. Cold therapy was an integral part of my training. When I was a gymnast, I would be in that cold tub after every training session for a number of years, and it's still something I take part of as part of my recovery, my mental health, as well as my performance in and out of the gym. Please check out their FAQ page for everything you need to know about Ice Barrel and cold therapy. If you've never tried cold exposure before, we cannot recommend Ice Barrel enough. They have events all over the US, and we also introduced conscious therapy as an added session at our Power Monkey camp. It was a huge hit with our campers and coaches alike. We cannot wait to have them back again. Please use Power Monkey, that's all caps, Power Monkey, no spaces, and save $75 off your Ice Barrel. Welcome to the Power Monkey Podcast, where we chat with the best in the world of fitness about what they do. I'm your host, Dave Durante, with my co-host, Mike Service, and on today's episode, we have Brian Friend. We were lucky enough to have Brian out with us at our most recent Power Monkey Camp 20 just a few weeks ago, and he wanted to come on and discuss some of his experience. He dives into some of the highlights of the week for him and also gives some perspective on what it was like to attend for the first time by someone that really didn't have too much info on what the week was going to be all about. This is Brian's second time on the podcast with us. He is an incredibly busy guy. He attends competitions and events all over the world, and we were lucky enough for him to be able to carve out some time to be with us. Brian is the founder and creator of Be Friendly Fitness. That's B, the letter B, friendlyfitness.com, where he puts up stories, articles, and other insightful commentary on the CrossFit community. You know we love discussing Power Monkey Camp. We do it often on the podcast, and many of you have probably attended a camp over the past 10 years or so. But Brian's insight gives some perspective on parts of camp that we normally don't talk about, some things that we think deserve a little bit more attention, and we're grateful that Brian was able to bring some of that attention to some parts of camp that we really want to highlight. We hope you enjoy this episode, and we really hope that Brian can attend again in the future. Enjoy. Brian, thanks for being with us again. It's great to catch up. Before we get into the discussion here, I'm just wondering, where in the world is Brian Friend right now? You've been on the road nonstop since we saw you at Power Monkey Camp. Where are you on this crazy adventure you've been on?
I'm home.
It's over?
Well, there's a 1 week hiatus.
All right. Where did you just come from, and where are you headed to?
I was at Crash Crucible in South Carolina this last weekend. And next week I'll be going to Rogue Invitational in Austin, Texas.
What are the duties at Rogue Invite?
I'm actually working with Rogue this year. First time that I'll be doing that. And there's some exciting things coming that I'm not at liberty to speak about yet.
All right.
So stay tuned.
For at Rogue specifically?
Yes.
Amazing. We had Emma and Jack on yesterday, recently, Emma Lawson, and they were talking about heading out to Rogue and how exciting of an event that is. We haven't had a chance to get down there yet, but every single athlete that we've spoken to just speaks so highly of the event, and especially from the athlete perspective of how much they take care of the athletes. And Rogue just does such a great job putting that one on. It's one that's definitely on our agenda for the future.
Yeah, last year was the first year that I was able to go there in person down in Austin. I went there I was writing for Bar Bend at the time. And this year was more or less planning to go just with Be Friendly Fitness, but I was able to get an opportunity with Rogue. So I'll have a kind of a different role, and I'm looking forward to it.
Amazing. We'll follow along and see what that's all about. But today's agenda is about part of your journey that took us to the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, where you got to come and hang out with us for the week for our 10-year anniversary Power Monkey Camp 20. We loved having you out with us. But before we get into what the week was like for you, I'm curious about, prior to coming to camp, what you were anticipating. What had you heard about camp, and what were you kind of going through in your head in terms of what the week might look like?
In terms of that, not that much. Even when I got there, I kind of asked you. I was like, I do a lot of podcasts. I write a lot. Am I allowed to write about what happens here? Because there's not that much information out there necessarily in terms of writing specifically, and there's maybe a little bit in the podcasting, or interview realm, but not that much. And I wanted to come in I was okay with coming in with kind of a blank slate and not really knowing. Personally, I had when you guys had first invited me and I had decided, yes, I would take you on that invitation. I had these like big ambitions of coming in very much prepared for, some specific things like handstands and ring muscle ups. And then I traveled so much that I had like no opportunity to prepare. So felt that I was going to be way behind in that regard of where I wanted to be. And I will say the handstands that got me. Like I was more sore after that station than anything else, but it ended up being totally fine that way. The curriculum, if we'll call it that, is approachable for everyone.
So upon arriving to camp, you get off that bus, with a bunch of the other
Well, I didn't come in on the bus.
That's right.
You drove in?
I came in the night before with a few of the other coaches or guests at the camp. And so
a little behind the scenes.
I got to spend the night with the evening with you guys, see a little bit of the prep and setup the morning before. And everyone was talking about the bus, that the bus is going to come and we're going to do this thing. And I didn't know what it was. I feel like almost everyone else that was on that side knew what was about to happen. And I just like put on the shirt and got in line with everyone else. And it actually was awesome. Like, and I kind of, it's one of the many things that anything that happened that wasn't optimal there, I just blame Mike for it.
That's what we normally do.
It's actually in our bylaws at Power Monkey. So you're right. You're falling right in line.
And I will say that I was a little bit jealous that I wasn't on the bus. I feel like that experience, the first time arriving there, is something that it can only happen one time. And I missed out on it.
Yeah, it's very much BJ, who's kind of the facilities manager with his wife, Osh. They live there at the facility in Tennessee. And whenever we show back up, first thing they say to this is just welcome home, welcome home, welcome home. And they facilitate and create such a warm and welcome environment for us every time we show up. And we want that same thing to happen when that bus rolls up, that like everybody knows that when those doors open, that it's like a home for them. They can, especially the return campers too, who know what to expect. They can kind of exhale and see some friendly faces and know that, all right, this is where I'm supposed to be for this week.
And I got in line there. I was right next to Margot Alvarez, and I kind of didn't do myself any favors in that regard. Like, she is so friendly, so bubbly, like, warm embrace for everyone. So I was like, okay, I got to step up. I got to rise to the occasion. And I wouldn't say that's necessarily my forte, as being bubbly and outgoing in that regard, but I tried my best to give people a handshake, a hug, a high five, whatever, kind of read the body language. And it was great. It was a great experience.
I want to get some of the drone footage and roll back the tape and just get some like clips of your face, Brian, throughout that process. Cause I know we had a drone hovering over, so I think we might have some clips there.
I'm sure Jordan's the one that has the handle on all the drone footage. He's got that for sure.
Yeah. And there were some, some pictures, of course, and some really good pictures from that day. Not just of me, but of everyone. And it was very much smiles and happiness and celebration of, like you said, a lot of the campers there this time around were returners, so they knew what they were getting into. And I think many of the others were excited for what was to come.
Absolutely. So instead of going through kind of all the stations, everything like that, we want to just get some highlight points from you. If there's maybe like 3 real takeaways that you remember from the week. It was a couple weeks ago now. Hopefully things are still setting in or resonating, or maybe you've had a couple of days to kind of think a little more deeply about some of the things that happened there. But can you pinpoint some things, anything, doesn't have to be from the stations, that really resonated with you in terms of how the week ran?
Oh, that's a tough question, Dave. I will say that I feel like, because I did miss out on Friday, but so I was there participating in everything Monday through Thursday. And if you don't know, during the course of those days, you get a chance to go through 10 different stations. And in addition to that, there's a trip to CrossFit Mayhem that you go to. And so a majority of the time during the day is spent in the stations. And so I feel like at least one of my 3 has to be with regards to the experience at the stations in general. And I think, it was of like a totally mixed bag for me. A few of the people that are coaching at those stations are people that I know quite well. I've spent a lot of time with Chris Hinshaw. I've known Dave Newsom with RX Smart Gear for a while. Obviously, I know you guys, and then there were some others that I had never spoken to, talked to, or in some cases even heard of before. And it was like somewhat challenging for me to approach. Like I wanted to approach every station clean slate, so I didn't want to come in with any like, oh, it's Mike's service station, so I know that this is going to be fun because at the very least I can give him a hard time. And I also didn't want to come into any stations with something like, who is this person and why should I be like, giving them my attention? Why have they been selected here as the one person who's teaching this skill or this station? And so that was kind of a challenge I put to myself. And I just have to say, because it was, for me personally, it was a big win for the week, is that I was really happy with how the ring muscle up station went, and Duke Van Vliet in particular, who I had not known previously, really, really impressed me. There were many things about what he did. Emily Bridgers was there with him. She was great too, but I knew that it was we had their station at the last point of a day, the third station of a day, and back-to-back days that they didn't have any breaks during that time. And so this was like 6 consecutive stations for them. There's, 15 or so people in our group, and 2 of them. And I did one, like we went through basically the whole thing within the last like 15, 20 minutes. And I did one kipping ring muscle up, and he didn't bat an eye. He didn't need to blink. He saw it. He gave me one pointer, one cue, I guess. And it basically like changed my experience with ring muscle ups. And the ability to do that with one person that you've seen do 1 rep at the end of 2 full days of teaching is something that, I don't care how good you are at a specific discipline, that's like a different level of care, passion, expertise in your field that he presented there. And I guess I would say is a good example that stands out for me that could be translated to many of you that just happened to be very impactful for me.
I want to just highlight Duke for a second. Duke has been with us for 18 camps, almost all of our camps. I grew up with Duke. He was an amazing gymnast in his own right, national champion at Penn State, and then took the career path that went more the circus route. And he was with Cirque du Soleil for over a decade. And even when he first started with Power Monkey, a decade ago, he was still performing. And the guy has been around the space forever. He's helped coach a lot of games athletes as well, and was kind of pretty deep into it on the game side for a while. But he's the owner of Rising Wave Athletics in El Segundo, California. His gym is amazing. If you're out in Southern California, his gym is right by the airport. It's a great space. And Duke he's a performer. He is one of the most engaging people I've ever met. And you're right, he's a phenomenal coach. I just want to give him a lot of love because he deserves it.
So I think I'll use that one of my 3 to kind of encapsulate the stations as a whole.
Perfect.
And I'll for number 2, I didn't get a chance to do these every night, but one of the kind of extracurricular opportunities that you have there are the campfires. And so, I'm sure it's different at every single camp because you have different guests and people who go to speak there. But, and I was trying to do a lot of writing while I was there about a few different things. And so a lot of times I would take opportunities where those things might be going on that were a little outside of the like very structured schedule to write, because it takes some time. But I did go to the campfire one night, and it was a night that Chad was out there kind of leading the proceedings, and Annie Sakamoto was the featured speaker there. And it wasn't so much about who was speaking. I would say it was more about the environment at the campfire. And these are long days, it's like they're physically demanding. There's a lot of information being given to you. You go to the stations, you go to the lecture, and then after that, if you want to, you go down to the campfire. And there were a lot of people, like it was standing room only, multiple, people deep and for basically the entire circle there. And everyone was having a good time, and they were engaged, and they were laughing along with the people, and it was quiet while they were talking. So they were like taking it in and listening to the story. And then after they were done, people still hung around in little groups and were having a good time. And that stands out to me because I think that it's a good representation of what the overall week experience is like, which is, much to what you alluded to about the arrival, is if it feels very comfortable there. Everyone feels very welcomed. Everyone is very interested in similar topics. They're having fun. They're having conversations, and they're enjoying each other's company. And I felt like that, even though it was the only one that I did get to go to that week, that environment around the campfire was kind of maybe off the beaten track example of more of what the entire ambiance of the week is like.
I love that one. And you mentioned Chad, but Chad Vaughn, one of our weightlifting coaches, been with us for every camp. He's the one that facilitated us starting the campfire stories as a way to close a beach night. Having Annie do the first one this camp was just special for us because Annie has been with us for a number of camps over the years. You know, her kids have come out, both Izzy and Dylan have been with us for a number of camps when they were younger, and now they're seniors in high school and, you know, going to the next phases of their lives. And so we've kind of gone through a lot together. You know, a decade is a long time to kind of see people's families grow and the life changes that happen. And for us to have Annie there for the first one was really special, telling her story about, you know, starting out with Greg back in the day in Santa Cruz and what that early days of CrossFit might have looked like, and to where she is today, where she's just a legend that she is. The rest of the campfires that week were also pretty awesome. Just so the listeners out there, we had Victor Asaf one night, who is one of the top adaptive athletes out there. His story is incredible. We met Victor years ago down in Ecuador. We've done a lot of teaching seminars in Guayaquil, where he's from, and he's just an amazing athlete, but also ambassador for the adaptive community. And his story is another one that's just phenomenal. I went one night talking about how Power Monkey got started, and we had an Olympic night, which was very cool. We have a lot of the Olympians and athletes who were in the national teams kind of talk about their journeys, mostly coaching staff, and some other people are kind of in the mix. And then fortunately enough, we had Boz talk about his story, and people love that one. I was actually glad I got paired with Boz, because the most people that ever showed up for a campfire story when Boz came down, so it was packed. But it was very, very cool to be able to have those names down there. But you're right, Brian. Each camp has its own flavor when it comes to campfire stories. And it's one of the things that we're most proud of in terms of getting people out of the gym and giving them a real unique experience about the people that are in the community.
Dave has approved of my first two choices. Okay.
Love them. Love them.
This is good. Don't let us down, Brian. You're going for a hat trick right now.
Don't say anything nice about Mike, though, and I'll be fine with number 3.
That'll get you disqualified. That's guaranteed.
All right. Well, we'll roll the dice. We'll see if Dave approves of the third one. But for me, this one is going to be centered around what I think is what's the formal name that you guys call it? I'm thinking of it as a community workout, but it
Pickleball?
It was actually the shirtless picture of Evan, the pickleball guy. That's my third one, right?
You meant the community, when we do kind of like our community workout, it's our fundraiser scholarship.
Yeah, the scholarship workout that morning. So, Jason Layden has been involved with you guys for a long time, and if Dave wants to, after I finish, he can give some background on Jason. But he's had my understanding, some various roles over the course of that time, where he was pretty much a featured speaker for a specific lecture for a long period of time. And now they've kind of integrated him in a few different segments where he it's not one isolated experience with Jason necessarily, but you can kind of feel his impact on a couple different areas across the week. One of which is the scholarship workout. So first of all, you get to learn about a couple of the scholarship programs that Power Monkey has been able to work with and support in more recent years. It was really powerful, actually, when AJ got up there to speak about their organization. It's at 206 South, I believe.
Yep, that's right, in Seattle.
And I wasn't even planning to mention it, but I know I had said this to Dave also. After she finished talking about their organization, Dave surprised her with a very nice invitation, I guess, to one of the young women that have come up through their organization to be a part of Power Monkey Camp next year. And I'm getting emotional about it now. It caught me off guard then as also. And I wasn't even going to talk about it here, but I think that it stands as its own as a really powerful thing that, Power Monkey, while you do have a gathering of some of the best teachers and coaches and practitioners of their skills and disciplines all in one place, and an opportunity to learn from them, that their impact expands beyond the ability to teach you the progressions of a handstand or a muscle up or a snatch, and do a much more profound element of human interaction. And so that was kind of a nice introduction to that I got through those conversations leading into the scholarship workout. And then the scholarship workout, I was kind of curious how it would go. I'm always interested when someone's responsible for a large group of a variety of different skill levels to participate in something like that. And I was really impressed. It may sound very simple to anyone who's programming out there, but it was an ab mat sit-ups and running and thrusters and groups of 3 and 4 to 5 different heats, 7 minutes at a time. And as I was watching it unfold, I was just impressed. I mean, it was, I did it and I did it with a couple of women that are much older than me. I think we did 55 or 65 pound thrusters. It was great. It was the most fun I ever had doing thrusters. And, but I was still tired at the end of it. I felt like I got a good workout in 7 minutes. And as I just watched each of the heats go by, you saw coaches that were doing it, guest athletes, former games athletes, first-time campers, people who've been there a half dozen to a dozen times in some cases before. And it didn't matter basically who you were. Like, everyone was able to participate. And to me, it was a really nice kind of celebration of the community there. Everyone in one space doing something active at one time and supporting each other when it wasn't their heat to go. I thought it was well placed at the end of the weekend, well organized and ran by Jason, and was just, per Dave's question, one of the things that sticks out to me.
Thank you, Brian. That's really just kind for you to say. And just from the 3 that you've picked, you seem to be really paying attention, I guess, is the best way to put it from my perspective, because, camp has evolved over the years and we've adjusted things and tried to make the experience different, unique, and always special for new campers, but also for the return campers. And the addition of the scholarship for us was something that was really important to be able to continuously give opportunities to people that, wanted to come to camp, but might not be able to for whatever reason. And being able to find scholarship programs and other nonprofits that were a perfect fit has been something that we had really been trying to seek out for a while. And we found 206 South, which you mentioned. I just want to give them a quick shout out. AJ and Zach Filer, 2 of our kettlebell coaches, they started a nonprofit up in Seattle and opened up a gym, and it's thriving right now, helping some of the inner city kids of Seattle have an opportunity to use fitness as a way to, get away from potentially dangerous situations in rough parts of that city. And they've done such an amazing job of creating more opportunities. And you mentioned one of their scholarship winners, Alexis. She's a phenomenal representative of what they're able to do. She's come to camp a couple times as a scholarship winner. She is a freshman at Yale now. And you're right, she provided one of the most impressive resumes that I've ever received from a prospective staff member as an 18-year-old. And we did accept her as a staff member moving forward. And I let her know just a couple of days ago, and she's ecstatic, but she will be with us in the fall helping out on the staff side of things. I do want to just mention the other scholarship that we have partnered with, and it's Easy Muhammad's Project Onyx, based out of Iowa, and his situation going on out there. He did have an actual gym space. I don't think it's up and running anymore. He's doing it out of his house now, but Easy's another one that's doing some amazing things for the area where he's from, trying to build more opportunities for kids that wouldn't be able to use fitness as a way to, get away from some of the troublesome things that are in their specific communities. And so I appreciate that you've mentioned those things. Jay is awesome. Jay has been with us for every camp except for one, which has a little asterisk by it because he had his 3rd child about a year and a half ago, and the baby was born during the week of Power Monkey Camp 18, I believe. And Jocelyn, his wife, who we're also very close with, we love. He actually even asked his wife, like, is it okay if I go to camp the week? And we're like, Jay, if you take off the week when Joss is pregnant, we will never see you again, and you may not be alive again after this. So we're like, please stay home. He even wanted to come that week. So the guy is just a gem. He's one of our favorites. He's a big part of Power Monkey. So I'm glad you gave him a shout out because he deserves it. And Mike, anything you want to add about the scholarship day? But that's one of the things that's special for me too at the week, that that Thursday morning where everyone's exhausted, but gets up enough energy to be able to celebrate some great nonprofits we got going on.
Yeah, Brian, you kind of like hit the nail on the head where you said, I don't know if maybe you weren't expecting that day to have like an emotion come out. Like you don't think that you're going to come to, I don't know, fitness camp or like any type of maybe more technical education experience, and then have a moment where you literally just kind of the tears just want to fall straight out of your head. And that was actually even somebody I've been pretty much at every single camp. That's still a day that kind of will grab me unexpectedly when people start to show their goodness. And so that was also nice just to hear you say how that was very much like a culmination of the week of just a bunch of people that are all very different, that have different levels of fitness, different lifestyles, everything just come together and really celebrate something in a common theme, common moment, common setting. And it's something that is always hard for us to even explain, I think, to our friends and family that are not within our like Power Monkey circle of how special that week is. And I think that's probably one of the shining moments that you can best experience it. And that's why we are so excited every time we get to put one of these camps on.
Next part, Brian. We have a lot of return campers. We have a lot of people that come back. And I think sometimes people view camp like, why would anyone ever do this again? Like, why would you come back again? And then we have people like Karen Ward, who's been to 13 camps and has kind of set the standard for what it means to be a return camper. But this particular camp, we had almost 50% return campers. And from your perspective, obviously there's a lot of information, a lot of other things you get from it, but would you see value in returning again? Just from your perspective, what would you get out of it if you ever did decide to come back again?
Well, I've actually thought quite a lot about that. And I think, as I mentioned, there's 10 stations and this trip to Mayhem and this scholarship workout. It's a pretty full schedule. I think just as a blanket statement, it would be a bit naive to say that you wouldn't learn something new the second time around. There's so much that's delivered there. Additionally, and I know that there's ranges of this depending on maybe what the skills and drills are in each of the different stations, but it's the first time that I had an opportunity to be coached by Chris Hinshaw. And if anyone has ever been exposed to his coaching, I'm not sure you can take it all in one try, and that's just one of 9. But I also know that he tries to change it up a little bit. He told me that he does, there might be some similar elements or a skeleton of an outline, but you're going to get a little bit of something different every time you come by and see him. So as a just overarching theme, I would say absolutely, you're going to come away with something new in a second experience than you would have before. And I would say, particularly if you take seriously the learning component of what has happened there. And so, I was in a group with a guy who's, I think it was his 4th, 5th, 6th, something like that. Time coming to Power Monkey Camp, and specifically in the handstand station, he was able to achieve a skill that he knew that Dave was going to expose us to in the group because he's been practicing for it. And because he'd been practicing for it and then he was able to do it, he was, quite frankly, he was very good at most of the other things. And so he had taken something from, whatever time it was that he first decided to do that, applied it into his training, and over a period of time was able to improve in that regard. And as you build kind of, especially with the handstands, I think it's important to mention in case anyone's like, handstands, I'm not going to do handstands. Like, Dave takes you from the beginning all the way up. If you want to try actually some handstand holds or walking, you can, but I am okay at those things, but my fundamentals are terrible. And so now I have a big group of opportunity of drills that I can do that are very accessible for me, that I can do regularly, daily even, that can help build towards maybe some of those higher skills that I would want to pursue. And as I've been doing those, I know that if I do come back there, I'll have a renewed experience at that station because of the exposure to the drills that I had the first time and the choice to kind of work on them here and there between now and whenever I come back. So I think those two things would kind of stand alone as a yes, definitely. A
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. And again, it's a question we get quite often about like, why would anyone ever come back again when they see or they hear, campers coming back 6, 7+ times? Yes, the information is a lot and, not something you can absorb in 1-2 hour session. We provide the syllabus afterwards that, we just sent out earlier this week, and it's 150 pages now. It's a legitimate book on what goes on during the week. But along with like the information, we always like to, it's like family reunion for some people. And for us, it's my busiest week out of the year. And it's the one that I look forward to the most because it's when I get to see my friends, when I see my family, it's my chance to be able to hang out with the people that I love. So I'm hoping that there are people that are starting to find that for themselves and being like, you come to camp and you're going to find people that are similarly minded that, no matter what your background is or where you come from and your age, your skill level, that you have a place to be able to hang out and find people that, want to hang out with you too.
I mentioned earlier with regards to the campfires that not everything that's on the schedule is something that you have to do. So there are some opportunities provided that I didn't do this time around. I never went to the yoga in the morning. I didn't go out on the lake or get in the lake at all. I didn't do the hot cold therapy with Dawn. I didn't go to all the campfires. I did choose to go to the Mayhem trip. Maybe next time I would stay back and see what that's about. So there's some like picking and choosing that you can do. I mean, you could go there for 1 week and do everything. And I think that that it would be a great week, but it might be a little bit at an expense of the optimal in anything, right? Because it's just so much. And so, even as Dave mentioned, he might not go to every campfire every night because he's got some other things he wants to do, or some people that he can stick back and have a conversation with, or maybe he's working on something with some of the other coaches. But I think that if you do choose to go to a couple of them, then you can kind of, having kind of seen what it is the first time, you might say, man, I think I really went too hard on the first 2 days in terms of just trying to cram everything in. I paid for it on the last 2 days, or I know I didn't do these couple things this time. I'd like to try those next time. I did the ropes course this time. I might not do it next time. I might choose to go in and like some of my group mates did in the canoe and watch other people screaming as they jump off the seat there.
Have you done a ropes course before? Was that the first time you've done it?
I have done ropes courses before. It's been a long time. I can't really remember the last time that I did. I'm not sure the best way is. I don't think I have a fear of heights, but I'm definitely nervous up there. It was challenging for me, and it was a good personal victory for me to have done it. And I thought that the environment in which it was introduced was there's no element of me feeling unsafe. And there was also like kind of it just put me in this mindset of like, okay, you're going to do this. Mm-hmm. And then I did it, and I feel really good about it.
Well done, man. It's always a nice accomplishment to be able to get to that giant swing and swing out over the lake. So well done. We still have a lot of coaches, I think Mike included, that still has not done it. So
yeah, Brian, you're describing to everybody what I would call positive power monkey peer pressure. So when you see everybody doing it, you do it. If it's within the Power Monkey family, it's probably a good idea, even if you don't want to. Dave, I have not done the ropes course, even though I've been there since the first camp. But I caved into the peer pressure that is now known as the annual Hood to Coast relay run as a non-runner. And I'm going to use that as my little pass for a little while until I decide to climb up the ropes course and jump off.
Well, we'll make you do it next time. Well, a nice additional peer pressure push.
There we go.
So the one thing you did miss was Friday, and Friday was normally a more of a fun day, but this was particularly a pretty kick-ass day, if I do say so myself. Being the 20th camp and the 10-year anniversary, we always have a fun competition. The group that you're in, again, Jason Leiden puts together accessible workouts that are normally 3 or 4. We use the lake, we use the outside when it's a nice day. And that part is a really great way for everyone who's in their groups to be able to, finish on a high note. And then we party. We have a nice, Sadie likes to call it the prom, or maybe this year was the prom because it was Roaring 20s. And that's the part that I'm a little bummed that you missed out on, because we had the fireworks going. We had, signature cocktail by Rosie Joe, and our chef for the whole week, Katie Wells, who does an incredible job with us, taking care of and feeding 170 people the entire week. And so we had some amazing things going on Friday night, along with our cornhole tournament. So that's one thing that if you do come back, I want you to stick around for. I want you to be able to have Friday under your belt too, so you see how the week finishes up.
Well, we all know whose fault it was that I did.
I was gonna throw myself under the bus because I knew the bus was gonna get dropped on me there. Just for everybody listening, I told Brian that if he wanted to leave on Friday, he could, because it's just the party day. And I knew he needed to get to the Masters Fitness Championships. So I wanted him to be rested for that after all of his travel. Shame on me for underestimating how amazing the party is. I know that. And there were like, when I told everybody that I told him he could leave on the party day, is like the gasps of disappointment. So yeah, I take one on the nose for that, but it was also a reason for me to know that you would have to come back again to actually be there and stay there for the party and show your cornhole prowess, because I'm going to assume you're pretty good at cornhole.
Well, I'm pretty good at cornhole, but I'm nowhere near as good as my brother. He's 5 years younger than me, and I've only ever beaten him one time in my life.
Maybe bring him out as a partner for Friday night.
You might be. Yeah,
we've had people do that in the past. We've had people bring out their siblings from the staff to be partners with them. So Martone brought his brother out one year to be partner. Mr. Craig brought his brother out to be a partner one year. It's something that runs in a lot of the staff's ability to think that they're going to win, but rarely does someone beat BJ. BJ it's home court advantage. He did lose this year. Wow. We had actually the first time ever at this cornhole tournament, we had in the finals 4 campers. That has never happened before. We've always had one team of staff in there. But yeah, this time it was return campers. I'm going to give a shout out to Sam and Joe for winning the cornhole tournament at Camp 20. So you got to come back, man. And I know you said you're pretty good, but it's very much like a Frisbee toss. So that's right up your alley, being able to, if we put a Frisbee golf hole somewhere on campus, would that entice you to come back?
Oh, yeah, of course. I can help you design it if you want.
We do have quite a few acreage on the other side of the lake that's not being used, so we might be able to add something new to camp activities.
Yeah, the other thing I will try to participate in if I do come back is the handstand walking race.
Oh yeah, you were there for that. You just observed, huh?
Yeah, I didn't really know what to make of it. I was watching everyone kind of practicing and warming up, and there were quite a few very impressive handstand walkers. They were actually a course that was kind of drawn in some chalk on the mat. They were doing pirouettes and all these backwards handstand walking and all this stuff. And I was like, wow, if that's what's going on, I'll just observe and enjoy watching. But it turned out it was just a race across and back, relay style, with 2 teams that were selected. And I was watching everyone do it, and I realized that I was probably on par with like the lower 2 or 3 people that had chosen to participate. And that's not having practiced too much. So maybe I'll do a little practicing once my fundamental skills and wrist strength get a little better, and be ready for it next time.
I'm going to hold you to it. You're going to be selected next time and participate. It's another thing that Jason Leiden has always brought up, that I have never picked him to be on my team for the handstand walking competition in 10 years. And so he was like, I'm going to train and get ready so Dave picks me. And then I was getting ready to pick him, and he refused to come out on the floor and participate. He's like, no, I'm not doing it. Like, Jack, you made this big deal on social media that you weren't picked, and now we want to pick you. He's like, no, I'm going to go in the other room. I'm like, all right. He was saying that he had questions that other people were asking him. So he said he was busy, but
I'm not quite sure if that was the deal.
Well, I just wanted to thank you again, man. You had some great things to say about camp on the Savant podcast, and it was really kind of you to say some of those things. And we think they're genuine. I appreciate the notes and the write-ups on what camp was all about. You asked me during the week, they're like, do you want people to know about this? Like, do you want this to be out there for the community? And hell yes, we want more and more people to know about what camp is all about, and that it is a little gem in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee. We're excited about our 2024 dates. We're close to sold out already for spring. Spring dates are going to be April 28th to May 4th. And then our next fall dates were just announced over the weekend, September 22nd to December 28th. And we opened up our first 20 spots and they went in under 24 hours. And so people are coming back. Most of those are return campers, which is, again, kind of cool, but we would want more and more people to know. So if you can help facilitate that and pass along good message, we'd love it.
Absolutely. And if you want a little more thorough review of what my experience was like, I did do a 3-part writing that's on BeFriendlyFitness.com. So you can go and read about the stations more specifically and just the overall experience that I had my first time going to Power Monkey Camp.
Thanks so much, buddy. We appreciate it today. What do you got coming up next? You said Rogue next week. And then do you get a little downtime for the holidays, or are you still on the road?
Well, 2 more competitions before Thanksgiving. I'll go to Phoenix for the Desert City Classic and then back here for the Charlotte Classic that I'm helping to host with Taylor Self. And then it's Wheel Wad at the end of November. First time going to an all-adaptive competition. I'm very excited about that. And then I'll be going to Dubai to do the commentary on the broadcast there once again. And then that will bring us up to Christmas.
Amazing. Well, the mileage is getting stacked up for you, man. Hopefully you get some rest along with those flights. Where can people find you and follow along with the Brian Friend adventures over the next few months?
Yeah, we've got Brian Friend CrossFit is my Instagram handle. Most everything that you would want to know that I'm up to is there. Be Friendly Fitness is our business page, and BeFriendlyFitness.com is where you can find all the writing that I do.
Fantastic. Service, anything you want to finish up with?
No, I'm just, any time to sit down and chat with Brian, I'm pretty happy. So I'll be looking forward. Maybe I can get him to have a little stopover here in Germany on his way to Dubai or something like that. We can grab a coffee.
That's not such a bad idea. I think that's a pretty good halfway point. Brian, thanks again for the time, man. We really, really appreciate it. And we'll be checking in on you relatively soon. Hopefully see you in person again soon. For all the listeners out there, please be sure to head over to PowerMonkeyFitness.com for services and upcoming events. Check out our Instagram pages for regular teaching and technical content at Power Monkey Fitness, at Dave Durante, and at Mike Service. On behalf of Power Monkey Fitness, we're your hosts. I'm Dave Durante with my co-host Mike Service. And until next time, thank you all for listening.